let's have a quick look at this beast. The Kaisers War, 1918 to 1919. It doesn't say it in the cover, but it is genuinely, because you can take it past the end of World War I in 1918 and go into 1919 with a whole idea of, well, what would have happened if it had kept going. This is from Strategy and Tactics magazine, number 261 from 2010, I think it is. And let me just move that. Pretty much, you have the whole of Europe and this whole idea that World War I is coming to an end. It's pretty much the last year. And you have, of course, the Allies and what they call the Central Powers. And at the bottom here, we have, this is the Allied side, where you have the British, the French, Italians, and then just the colours here, USA and minor powers. For the Central Powers, you have the Nationalists, the Ottomans, Austro-Hungarians and Germans. So that's what those colours mean, and all these little chits are all over the map. So the game starts and you get victory points. The victory points are used to either enhance your movement or enhance your combat, but you can lose them in some battles. It's kind of rare, but it can happen, and you only have that amount for that turn. And the only way you're going to get victory points is at the end of the turn. You're then going to look at where you are on the map and if you're going to get any victory points. So you want to use your victory points, but you don't want to use too many, and you want to make sure your forces are in places where you're going to get victory points back. So it's always something to think about with the victory points. The map is your usual stuff. Different types of terrain. You get your movement points. You get defense if you're in certain areas. Usual stuff, fighting across water, all that jazz. You know how it goes. There are places like this where you have little anchors. They're naval bases. There are other points like this where it has a flag. The flag, that's going to get you 1 victory point if you land in there. There are ones with stars. You're going to get 4 victory points for that, and they're all over the map. The sequence of play is that at the very start of the game, you get your victory points and the Central Powers go first. But the sequence of play is the same for both sides. So it starts off with a mobilization phase where you have your victory points and you can bring in reinforcements. Now, you have to declare the reinforcements earlier on in the game. They are then kind of on hold for maybe a turn or two, depends. And at the right time, now you could bring them into play because you've already paid for them previously. Let's see what else. Next part takes you to a movement phase. Movement phase, as you can imagine, shock horror, you move things. And the counters have your usual stuff on it. Attack, defense, and movement. And victory points though can come into play because you can do what's called a forced march, where you can use 1 victory point per unit, so per chit, 1 victory point, and you can double the movement of that unit. So in this case, this guy would go 4, he would actually go 8, and that would cost you a victory point. It is not on the map anywhere, which is very confusing, but there is a rail network. The idea is you just go from city to city. It gets a bit complicated because there's nothing on the map to tell you this, you've just got to remember it. Is that you can go from a city to a city 15 hexes at most, and that's you using the rail. You can't go through enemy zone of control. But the countries are in zones. So UK, France, Belgium, Luxembourg, Germany, they're all zone 1. You can move as much as you like in there. If you're in, say, zone 2, then you can only get 1 turn per country in a zone 2. Zone 2 is anywhere else except the ones I mentioned in Montenegro, Albania, Persia, and all these desert hexes that are way over here. So the rail network's kind of a bit vague, very vague for that matter. Next one, first combat phase. And obviously you do all your attacks, but you've got to take in mind that there is going to be next a second combat phase. And the combat phase I do like. The combat in this I like. I like it a lot because you roll. It takes a bit of arithmetic, right enough, but you roll on a table and you get a result. You look up the result on the combat results table, and you don't just get, oh, you've took damage and you're dead. There's various bits and bobs. I'll come back to that. Makes it good. Makes it unpredictable. And the last bit of the sequence of play is a supply attrition phase. Being honest, when I've been playing it, I usually completely ignore the supply stuff because I end up forgetting about it or I screw it up. So usually I forget it. But proper players will use supply attrition phase, where if you're non-supply, then you get penalised. So the Central Powers would do all of that. Then the Allied player would do all that. As you end the turn, you then do an end phase, which is you check the victory points on the map for each of the two sides. So both will check the map and see who's got victory points, take what they are owed. You then look at the victory points that each player has, and if there's a certain amount between them, one player wins, one player loses. If you don't meet those conditions, then you obviously advance the turn track and do it all again. So to go back to combat, I will show you this page handy dandy page that I've made up. And there's two combat result tables, and one, this infiltration one, you only use when you're using certain central power units. So most of the time it's going to be this, what they call big push combat results table. And this is where you've potentially got to get your calculator out, because you declare who is going to attack. Let's do a quick combat example, just for the hell of it. So we're going to say we have a British attacker and this Bulgarian defender. So the British are attacking with an 8, Bulgarians are defending with 6, but they are in the rough, so that gets doubled to 12. So 8 divided by 12. It's not going to be a good turnout, because 8 divided by 12, again, this is where you've got to do the arithmetic. No, I don't have a calculator, so we're going to say it's going to be probably around about the 50 to 99% column. But we could add in the plane. We could say we want a bit of air support. So we have 8, we can use that 3 as 11. 11 against 12. So 11 against 12, 11 divided by 12, then multiplied by 100. Pretty much we're going to be in the 50 to 99% column. So if I roll on that, I get 3. The 3 is going to be AW. AW is attacker withdrawal. So all involved attacking units are retreated 1 hex and there's no pursuit. So this guy and this guy both have to retreat. That's going to be a major problem because this guy can't retreat there. He can't retreat there. He can't retreat to there either. So this guy is potentially going to get bumped. And this guy also can't really retreat anywhere. So both these guys going in thinking, I may get away with it, end up, they have to retreat, can't retreat, and end up getting bumped. The alternative is that you then thought, okay, 8 and 3, 11, but we're going to use 2 victory points. So these guys get doubled. So we're now up to 22 against 12. 22 against 12 means it's certainly more than 150, so we're pretty much in this column here. So again, let's say 5. So the result this time is DW, which is Defender Withdrawal. So all involved defending units retreat 1 hex. So this guy, he'd be okay because he can retreat 1 hex back and he's safe. There is also, though, this guy would retreat, Defender Withdrawal, but part of the Defender Withdrawal is that one involved attacking unit can pursue. So this guy could say, okay, I'm going to chase him. And that would be the result in this case. So just same idea, using victory points, bringing in an air unit, that kind of thing, can make a big difference. But again, everything depends on the results on the table, because that defender withdrawal could also have been an attacker withdrawal. What makes this good though is these results. The results you get are either an attacker or defender will get things like attrition, catastrophes, defeated, panic, withdrawal, and then you can just get an all-out bloodbath. And it tells you on the combat results table what they mean. The attacker attrition, or well, the attrition we'll call it, because the results are both sides kind of thing. The attrition will get you potentially a loss of 1 victory point per attacking unit. So if you've got 4 units, you're going to lose 4 victory points. But no one retreats. No units are eliminated and there's no retreat or pursuit. Because if you're defeated and you have to retreat, the attacker can sometimes pursue. An attacker or defender catastrophe means that you eliminate all the involved attacking units. Obviously defending catastrophe, similar idea. But one defender or attacker may pursue. So if it's an attacker catastrophe, you eliminate all involved attackers and one defending unit can pursue into that hex. An attacker defeated would mean that you eliminate the attacking unit, but it's the one with the highest printed attack factor. Again, if you've got several, highest one gets it. The attacker retreats the surviving units, but the defender does not pursue. So, similar idea, reversed for defender. Attacker panic, attacking units, they've got to make a check, which is against their, I think it's their movement allowance, off the top of my head. I'm looking at abbreviations and I don't like them. I think it's movement allowance, but you check on a 1d6 and you may retreat, you may be eliminated, all that kind of stuff. The defending unit can pursue, and obviously, again, reversed for defender. Attacker withdrawal, all units are retreated 1 hex, no pursuit. Bloodbath means that in the attacker side, single highest printed attack factor unit is gone. And the defender also loses the single highest printed defense unit. And obviously there's no retreat or pursuit because it's pretty much a massacre at that point. So everything I said for attacker is obviously same idea for defender. Defender can do the exact same problems, defender panic and that kind of thing. And that's pretty much it for the combat. But it is good because 2 units can go into a combat and all of a sudden you think it's an absolute surefire certainty that you're going to win this. And you roll the dice and you end up getting an attacker withdrawal or an attacker catastrophe or something. Even worse, a bloodbath. So I like that idea. I like the idea that you don't just get, oh, you're damaged, or oh, you're gone. In this one, it's a whole idea of anything could happen. Attacker or defender, anything could happen. So you've got to be ready for it. You may not be able to read it right enough, but these are the victory points gained for various parts on the map. But when units are eliminated, it's not really very well described right enough, but for army or army groups eliminated, you lose 6 victory points. So you really don't want people getting bumped off because your victory points are going to plummet. Similar idea, other units that are, you know, kind of cavalry and that kind of idea. I think there's only a couple of them. As it says there, AA or DA, which is the attrition results, you lose 1 victory point, as I say. At the start of the round, so you're on round 2, very start of round 2, you've got your victory points from the end of round 1, say. The British, French and the US automatically get 6, 3 and 12 victory points. And then whatever else you've got on the map. And the Central Powers only get what's on the map. Can't quite see it here, but there are little boxes to the very left of the map, kind of up here, where you put your reinforcements that you're going to bring in. So that's a quick look at it. If you want to see more, let me know. It's quite a hefty game, quite a hefty beast, and as I say, it's interesting that you can take it to the end of 1918, the end of World War I, and then take it into 1919. You do get certain penalties when you take it into 1919 because obviously all the countries involved are just completely on the downside. But there are certain troops that do come into play that you can only get in 1919. So anyway, that is a quick look at the Kaisers War, 1918 to 1919. If you want to see more, let me know.